Do I have Miss Reverend Clarice Mitchell here?
I'm here, yes.
Come on up, ma'am.
Good morning. I know we all come from busy places this morning, but I'd ask us all to take a moment. The members of the Board of the County Commissioners and the visitors, let us be still and know that we are always in the presence of the Holy One. We come to be of service to the community of Brevard County. We give thanks for the opportunities we have in this beautiful area with natural beauty everywhere. Increase our awareness and challenge our assumptions that we may serve all people of this county. Help us to be aware of our need to treat everyone as we would want to be treated, because we are all God's children. Let us strive to be kind, to be respectful, and to listen and understand as much as we strive to be understood. Our tasks are many and the work difficult, so help us to have the courage, the strength, and the love to do it well. We ask all of this in the name of the one who calls us to love one another. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, ma'am. We have a quorum. I'm going to call this meeting to order.
If you stand and join us in the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have no minutes for approval today, so we're going to move into resolutions. And we have one this morning for our Florida Surveyors and Mappers. You look like you fit the bill. Come on up. I'm going to read this resolution, sir, and then if you want to take a few moments and brief us, we would like that. Stay right there. Whereas surveying has been an essential element in the development of human environment since the beginning of recorded history, and is a requirement in the planning and execution of nearly every form of construction, with its most familiar modern uses in the fields of transportation, building and construction, communications, mapping, and the definition of legal boundaries for land ownership. Whereas George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and other former presidents of the United States served their fellow colonists as surveyors. Whereas the citizens of Brevard County recognize the valuable contributions of the surveying and mapping profession to the state of Florida and the United States of America. Now, therefore, the Brevard County Commission does proclaim March 19th through March 25th as Florida Surveyor and Mappers Week. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Zonka.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. As I look back on my, my twilight of my career coming up, I like to say something about the Surveyors and Mappers. This year in June will be my 50th college reunion, and I think back when I walked across that stage, did I ever imagine this is where I would end up? And I really enjoy where I'm at now. But I have to say, I've been very lucky to choose this profession. As a young person, we get to explore and map the outdoors. We have a love of mathematics, mapping, and geodesy. We have a love of mathematics, mapping, we love the laws of the land, some of them ancient and yet to be settled laws. We love the art of science of mapping. We love history and the land puzzles it presents. Because of all that, we are a unique breed, and surveying mapping is a unique, rewarding profession. And I think all my staff feels that way too. I'd like to introduce a few here. These are my staff here. The rest are probably out in the field either surveying down A1A on the beaches or fighting snakes at the Holder Canal. We appreciate you giving us the opportunity to use our profession at this unique level. It's been a wonderful profession. I think we all enjoy it. And I have to kind of add something here. We have some great career opportunities in the surveying and mapping program right now. and we'd love to have people that would be interested in this to put an application in. I think we can give a great opportunity.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you for the opportunity.
We have a plaque for you.
Let's get back to work, guys.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could we have John Lopez? John Lopez,
It's one, right?
or is it one? Is active duty Army Guard, and Susie Parente is a military child. We also have Michelle and Owen Blackwood, who are retired Army. Can you come forward? Okay. April is Military Child Awareness Month. I have a resolution. I'll read that, and then you'll be invited to say a few words, okay? Whereas AVET Project, Inc. is asking you to join us nationally in recognizing and applauding the daily sacrifices and courage of the military child has to overcome by celebrating April, the month of the military child. And whereas more than 1.6 million military children who face challenges and unique experiences as a result of their parents' service to our country, serving around the world and sometimes for many months or even years, may we not forget our youngest warriors, the military child, who also serves. Remember to recognize the hardships they face. Americans everywhere should find ways to support the military child. And whereas the military child plays an important role to our country, not only dealing with the uncertainty and concern for their parents, they take on many family responsibilities working as a team while their loved one is serving our country away or at home. And whereas on average, military families are on the move every 2 to 3 years, moving from one station to another, this is not always easy going from school to school, not to mention making new friends while saying goodbye to old ones. Far too often, birthdays, holidays, important life milestones are celebrated via phone call. And whereas we encourage schools to plan special events honoring military children, and that administrators and principals incorporate this month's themes into their everyday duties, events, and responsibilities. These efforts will reinforce the importance of providing children with quality services and support. And whereas the month of the military child provides an opportunity for every American to show our appreciation and gratitude to our youngest warriors, the military child, who also serves. Celebrate the military child by wearing the color purple for the month of April. Purple highlights all branches of the service. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida does hereby proclaim the month of April Military Child Awareness Month. Done, ordered, and adopted in regular session this 21st day of March 2023. And Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I have a motion.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Zonka. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Oh, passes. You threw me off on that one. Passes 4-1.
All right. I think you're welcome to.
On behalf of everyone at AVET Project and all volunteer nonprofit and all the past and present military members and their families that we serve, I want to thank Commissioner Feltner and all the commissioners for this proclamation. Children of military parents deserve all our attention, and this certainly demonstrates Brevard County's support. Thank you all.
I'm a military child. I didn't face any challenges. Special.
Okay, we're going to move to consent agenda in just a moment. First of all, I would like to mention that we have one of our commissioners here. This is her last meeting. And so we got a plaque for Commissioner Zonka here that we would love to present to her. Ma'am, you have just been a great commissioner, and you're really going to be greatly missed. And many times you brought a real strength of, what's the word I'm looking for? Common sense and clarity to this board. And I'm going to greatly miss you. And so this is from the county commissioners. We want to present this to you. And I see your husband's here today. And I did want to mention, I've been in touch with Kurt. He really wanted to come today for this as well, but he couldn't make it because he had some surgery done. But you are greatly loved and appreciate it. And so we want to present this to Commissioner Zonka. And Commissioner Tobias, I know you're not going to vote no on this one. So we want to present this to you. Thank you. You're wonderful. Thank you. Oh, should we come down and take a picture together? Okay. Would y'all like to come?
You want to take a picture?
I guess so.
Let's take a picture.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be.
Who knows? Maybe she'll stay. A lot can happen in 2 weeks.
The best comment was the grumpy cat comment for Commissioner Tobias.
Okay, consent agenda, Commissioners, I do have a request to pull F-17. Do I have any others? May I have a motion to approve all the consent except F-17?
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Goodson, second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, passes 5-0. F-17, Commissioner Tobias, this is your poll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The TPO appointee on here who hails from my district, or the district I currently represent, has made some disparaging remarks about this board up here on some social media posts. And while that individual, of course, is more than welcome to make whatever comments that she would like on those posts, I don't think it's probably wise for us to employ her services as an advisor if she openly is not in favor of actions that this board has taken. To be clear, I have no concerns with the planning and zoning individual. Mr. Robert Brothers, the person in question, is the TPO appointment. I'd be more than willing, if you want me to go over what those social media posts are, but suffice to say they're not complimentary.
Okay, this is District 5, Commissioner Zonka's appointee, so
Yeah, I'll just say, you know, if we said no to everybody that criticized us, I mean, no, we wouldn't have most people on boards. And I know I've seen some of those posts myself, and we could rehash that. But I mean, I would hope by engaging individuals that can learn more about what we do and learn more about the decisions that are made, I have no problem with it. I was perfectly aware of her criticism of the board, and I accept that. So she asked for the appointment, and I don't believe anybody else applied for that. So that's why I've moved her forward.
yeah, I agree with Commissioner Zonka on this. And heck, this board criticizes this board quite often too. And so Commissioner Tobias, Commissioner Feltner, I'm sorry, sir. Look at you. Got your button on.
I did. Got it right. I know Ginger Twig. I've bought bicycles from her. She runs a bicycle shop in Suntree, Revolution Cyclery. I'd say it's a very popular shop. A lot of people, buying bikes from them, take them there to be fixed and what have you. So, I mean, she doesn't turn off too much of the public in her business. I know Ginger is very passionate about bicycle and pedestrian safety, so I wouldn't hold her social media comments against her. I think she'll do fine on TPO.
Okay, I have no more lights. What's your direction, Commission?
I'll make a motion to approve the appointments.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner Feltner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-1 with Commissioner Tabaya in objection. We're going to move to public comment. I have Mr. Frank Hanel. Come on up, sir.
Permission to give out some folders.
Sir, if you would state your name and address.
My name is Frank Hanel. My address is 26 Sackett Road, DeBarry, Florida. Okay. Good morning. My name is Frank Hanel. I am a resident of the city of DeBarry, a former United States Marine and Vietnam War veteran. I am a Florida Veteran Hall of Fame member, class of 2020. The state of Florida established the Florida Veterans Hall of Fame in 2013 to recognize and honor those military veterans who, through their works and lives during and after their military service, have made a significant contribution to the state of Florida. In selecting nominees for the submission to the Hall of Fame Council, a preference is given to veterans who were born in Florida or have adopted Florida as their home state. The military veterans chosen for review by the Hall of Fame Council will have made a significant contribution to the state of Florida in civic, business, public service, or other pursuits. The selection process for consideration is conducted by a military panel consisting of a council chair and 6 judges. After the council selections have been made, the list of nominees is sent to the Florida Cabinet and then to the governor for review, finalization, and approval. Today, there are approximately 1 million veterans residing in the state of Florida, and of those veterans, there are 131 that have been inducted into the Florida Veterans Hall of Fame. I would suggest that this is a very unique and select group of veterans. On December 6, 2022, the County Council of Volusia County held a special tribute for the 6 veteran residents of Volusia County that have been inducted into the Florida Veterans Hall of Fame. During that tribute, a framed proclamation was given to each of the veterans, and a large physical space adjacent to the building entrance was dedicated to them. Mounted high on the wall is the inscription, "The Florida Veterans Hall of Fame, Volusia County members," and below the inscription is a color photograph of each of the 6 veterans. Brevard County is very unique inasmuch as it is the home of 4 members of the Florida Veterans Hall of Fame. Major General John Cleland, U.S. Army, class of 2013. Chief Master Sergeant Eugene Johnson, U.S. Air Force, class of 2014. Sergeant First...
If you finish reading their names, sir, that would be great.
Thank you. Sergeant First Class Juan Santiago, U.S. Army, class of 2019. Lieutenant Colonel Harry Taylor, U.S. Army, class of 2022.
Thank you, sir. I went ahead and read ahead,
Yes.
and I believe you would have any one of us willing to do a resolution for each of these. Is that what you're asking today?
Yes.
All right, Commission, would one of you guys like to do it, or otherwise I'd be happy to do it in a future meeting?
I can't, I'll be here.
Yeah, I know. Okay, if you, You know what, I would love to do it, and I'm going to have Miss Adrian reach out to you this week, and we'll get some information.
Okay.
And we'll make a nice plaque for each one of them so that you can put this in the new facility that you're having with the Florida Hall of Fame.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you very much for your
sir.
time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Juan Santiago, who, if you can envision a mother and her teenager at the mall, sitting in the food court, eating lunch about half an hour before we're going to the Army recruiting place, and I don't know if he just picked up, because we weren't wearing anything that would indicate as such, but Juan came up to us and started talking to my son, and started talking about all the great things that the Army is and what a great family it is, and I'll never forget that. He'll never forget it to this day. My son's a sergeant now. He remembers you, and you're an inspiration to us, and I just wanted to say thank you. I recognized you right away when I saw you, and
Oh, this is him.
yes, this is him.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
And you're an inspiration to young men who decide to serve, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. We have Mr. Scott Knox. Oh, there you are. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
All right. You're
Scott
kind of in the
Knox,
Hall of Fame of county attorneys through the years.
I'm Scott Knox, 1990 West New Haven, Wiedemann Malik Law Firm, representing Mr. Stewart today. And I just have a simple request. Mr. Stewart filed an application for a takings claim back in August of 2022, and we have not had a chance to hear. We've been working with staff trying to get something resolved, and you've probably seen emails going back and forth. And I don't think we're going to resolve it through staff. So I think we need a hearing on the takings claim, which we filed back in 2022. And I would respectfully request we get that hearing in April 18th of this year, so we can get it over with one way or the other.
Mr. Knox, let me consult with staff a little bit later and find out what we can do. I know you've read the emails, and you've done a great job hanging through this, but I think what we might need to consider is how we can get him to just fulfill that one little thing staff needs him to do. So that's what I'm thinking. But again, let me spend a little time talking to the county staff about this, sir. But Commissioner Tobias, is this a new light?
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Knox, thanks for showing up. My question to you is, if you were sitting up here in your old spot and an attorney off the side of the road came up and pled directly with a board for such a request, I was sitting right next to you, what would you advise me?
I would say that's August 22nd, 2022 to today. It's probably too long to wait for a hearing on this. As much as we try to work it out with staff, every time we work it out with staff, we get another request for more information or more surveys or a road construction, something. We just need to get it resolved. And
Is
at
Tad
this
here?
point,
John?
Thanks for that answer, Mr. Knox. I'm glad you're no longer sitting up here. I'm glad you're sitting out there with an answer like that.
Okay.
Hold on. Mr. Denninghoff, Mr. Tad, I think there was one primary piece of information we needed Mr. Stewart to complete, and it's consistent with what we're doing in the community, and I think it was important for our taxpayers. So if you guys would just let Mr. Knox know, but I know you already know this as well, but to get it on the record.
I'm unaware that the county staff has asked for additional information beyond what was asked quite frankly, from the very beginning, the first time he ever came in and talked to county staff regarding what he was looking for, referring to Mr. Stewart. I'm interested to find out exactly what it is that the county staff may have been asking for that we didn't ask for under board direction when Mr. Stewart appeared before the board in 2021, I believe it was. And we've been consistent. We've asked him to provide an engineering plan that will show that the drainage system will work and the transportation system will work for the road that he proposes, that would then be able to be maintained by county and meet adequate standards. And he's failed to provide even a rudimentary engineering design for that road. and we've been consistent throughout the entire process.
I think that's just what we're waiting on. I think if that would have been done, probably he'd be in a house by now. The problem is he's saying everybody says it's okay with this, but you just got to have that documentation done by the people who kind of know what they're doing so that we don't have a liability later on this right-of-way, county right-of-way. So that's part of the situation. And in between that time, just so you know, I had talked to them about getting this done early on, and they said, well, there's already millings or something on the road. I said, well, there shouldn't be. It's a right-of-way. That very next weekend, somebody went out and remilled the whole thing. And so I put code enforcement on it because I think it was just kind of blatant that some things happened through this process. And when it came to us for the waiver, I would not have voted in favor of it, but instead of just denying it so you couldn't move forward, I gave county staff an ability to work with it to try to get the family into a home in an appropriate manner. So that's kind of what I'm sitting with, staring at right now, and just waiting for that to happen. But heck, I'll even throw in $100 to pay for his engineer if he needs it to get out there and help get this process done. But Commissioner Tabaya?
Thank you. I've just got a list of the things that are short. Madam Chair, with your permission, can I ask Mr. Knox if these have been provided? A minimum of 50 feet of right-of-way for the project as proposed per the Land Development Code, Chapter 62, Article 2, Division 1, Section 62, 102, Section C1. Have you provided that?
Have I provided that?
Or your applicant?
That was the subject of a waiver request 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it still hasn't been resolved.
Okay, an 84-foot diameter, a cul-de-sac or T turnaround at terminus of the road is required by fire rescue. Have you provided?
That is not required by fire rescue, and we have documentation of that.
Okay,
And you've
location of
seen
exist-
that, Commissioner Tabaya, you've got it in your file someplace because it was sent to all the commissioners.
Okay, location of existing wetlands or water bodies within the right-of-way of the proposed unpaved road.
All right, let me stop.
I mean, there's a
If
list.
I can for a second,
Sure.
this claim is based today on a takings claim because the state law allows anybody who is landlocked to have an opportunity to set up a statutory way of necessity. That is what we're claiming. The county has prevented Mr. Stewart from getting any kind of permit on his piece of property for a building permit. And all the criteria you're talking about are not applicable to
Okay, Madam
this
Chair.
particular situation.
I appreciate it, but I'm not an attorney. Clearly you are, but the fact that you're here and you haven't filed is telling me something. And you have redress on this one, and you're more than welcome up here for your 3 minutes. But my understanding is there's numerous documentation. It's not one thing, it's numerous documentation that staff asked for. And now you're asking for a waiver on top of a waiver?
No.
And this is getting absolutely ridiculous.
I'll tell you what's ridiculous, Commissioner. Commissioners, you don't follow your own ordinances. Your ordinances don't require any of this. And the fact that you think it does
Thank you for your time. I greatly
where your
appreciate
error
it.
is.
Mr. Knox, I think if we could at least get the engineering shown that this would be available to use that path. You know the history. We took that property before, and I was even hoping to give it back to the neighbors and let them figure out how to deal with it. But it is a county responsibility, county liability, and that's what I'm watching over. Because if this isn't done properly and we had to get an emergency vehicle back there, I mean, it's actually becoming a road now. So it's supposed to even be paved. I'm willing to waive, I don't know how the other commissioners are, just keep it a dirt road back in there. But I think there's certain things that have to be done to protect the citizens of the county and to make sure that's done appropriately, seeing that we took this property back in the beginning for the drainage and the right-of-way situation. So that's where I am on it. And I really wish he could get in and build his home. I would love that. But if he would just go do that one little engineering thing, I think this would all be moot moving forward. Am I correct on that, Mr. Denninghoff?
I believe you are.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Stewart is not willing to come out of the pocket for $20,000 to $100,000, depending upon how you want to go about the engineering, in order to do engineering for a road that's been in existence since
Well, it's not a road.
1967.
Just because people went out and dumped millings on it, which they shouldn't have done, I called code enforcement.
Well,
Because that happened, it doesn't make it a road no more than if I walk into a garage, I become a car. So I just think it needs to be different, and I respect you totally, and I know you're doing your job, but in my heart, I believe that's the right thing to do.
Okay. Well, if the code enforcement finds there's a violation because of the millings, then they should find out who put the millings there and make them remove them. And I don't think that was my client. So I don't think my client should be punished for something somebody else did.
No, I don't either, but it was a little bit suspect with the meeting before, but I don't know. You're right. But when I made calls, nobody kind of denied it, so.
All right. And I would also point out that the only criteria you have for an unpaved road in this kind of situation is the density requirement, which has been met. My client went out and got that test done, and it meets the requirements of the ordinance. There's no other requirement that pertains to this kind of situation.
Except it's not a road, and that's what our problem.
Well, it's been used as a road or as access for two properties that are butting that road right now. And it's been there forever. Literally, it's been there for over 30 years.
I know, maybe we should have popped on them for using it as well. I don't know, but I just think we have to do this appropriately to save every citizen in Brevard County funds
Well,
down the
my
road
client's
or
not going to
liability.
spend, he's not going to spend $100,000 or $20,000 to get an engineering report. It's not required under your ordinance. That's as simple as that.
I
So if you're
can't-
going to say no, just say no. We'll go about it some other way.
Sir, I can't argue that part with you. Mr. Richardson?
All right, so where we're at right now is that you heard a waiver application to the unpaved road ordinance in October of 2022, and that's when this board gave the direction that you spoke of to go get the engineering required to establish that the road could be constructed within the constrained right-of-way. It's a 30-foot, not a 50-foot right-of-way, so that required a waiver from the requirement of 50 feet of right-of-way. Over time, staff has worked with Mr. Stewart. Most recently, we sent the most minimal standards that we could possibly point to that a dirt road could be both engineered and built to. The drainage still has to be shown and things like that, just like anyone developing a property and doing a road. But the board's action when it requested that additional information was to table the waiver application. So right now there hasn't been a final determination on the waiver application. So in my opinion, the takings application or the regulatory takings application under the code isn't ripe yet, so we need to move it to final determination of the waiver application. And if the answer is that Mr. Stewart's simply never going to provide the things that the board requested, then I think that's the next thing that needs to be brought forward for a final action on the waiver application, and then go forward from there. However, Mr. Stewart wants to proceed. In my opinion, although there are certain things, as Mr. Knox said, that are set forth directly within the unpaved road ordinance, it certainly contemplates that a road will be constructed to county standards. You don't have to recite all of the standards within every section of the code, and I think staff has been very agreeable to try to work with Mr. Stewart to get there. The two driveway accesses we've discussed, one predated the requirement that you pull a permit based on your access to a county-maintained road. The other one, they actually permitted that based on a permit on Dixie, which is a county-maintained road, but later constructed that driveway onto this road without authorization.
Okay. Well, I respectfully disagree with some of what you said, Morris, but that's, how things go. So my client's not going to put up any engineering. He's not going to put up any other information that you need in terms of the request you made. He's been requested to provide a road that's built to low volume standards, and I got a manual, 61-page manual to explain what the low volume standards are. And this road has been there. This glorified driveway has been there for over 30 years, over 35 years.
Mr. Knox, will you please send your request in writing so we have time for county staff?
I'd be happy to send it to you, and then at least we can get a decision one way or the other on the waiver.
If you would send that in with all of those points so that legal and county staff have time, so we do everything appropriately, that would be wonderful, because
Well,
nobody wants to make emotional decisions here.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you to make a decision today. That's why we wanted to have a hearing on the 18th of April.
Yes, sir. If
so
you
we
would
can get
turn that
over
in
with.
so I can consult with them, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I did explain this in about a 7-page letter previously, so I'll be glad to send that to you again.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just recommend to you that you probably have your client use you to talk through you rather than sending us
Yes, well,
numerous emails that
I'll try to get
with all
control
kinds
of
of
that
wild
situation.
accusations.
Yeah, so, but again, I'm ignoring them. I know when people are frustrated, they say a lot of things they shouldn't say, so that doesn't typically move me too much. So Commissioner Tobias, is that a new light, sir?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay, but thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're moving into public hearings. Item H1.
Good morning, Commissioners. Item H1 is a public hearing for our HOME-ARP allocation plan. When the American Rescue Plan Act was voted in, $5 billion was allocated to HUD. HUD then, in turn, allocated those dollars down to public and local communities. Brevard County has been allocated $4.5 million. There is a process that HUD has put in place before we can actually access those funds. One of them is this allocation plan that you have in front of you. So the plan itself has to be developed with a lot of stakeholder input. The target population for these funds are very laid out by HUD. They are individuals experiencing homelessness, individuals at risk of homelessness, persons fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence, and other populations for whom providing supportive services or assistance would prevent homelessness. We have a consultant, Codworks Consulting Group, who conducted our stakeholder meetings, put the plan together, and also in coordination with our 4 partner cities who make up the HOME Consortium, Palm Bay, Melbourne, Cocoa, and Titusville. The plan itself looks to allocate funding with 11% going to supportive services, 67% going to the development of affordable rental housing, 3% to nonprofit operating, 3% to nonprofit capacity building, and 15% to administration and planning. We had a required public comment period of 15 days, which ended yesterday. We received 15 days, 28 comments. Those 28 comments actually did not pertain to the plan itself. It was more about needs of the population and needs in the county. We will acknowledge those comments. We'll do a summary and add that to this plan, as well as any comments that come today. And then we will actually add all the comments as part of an appendix for when this is submitted to HUD. So the next step is if this is approved, is to add that information, submit it to HUD. HUD then will review it. If they approve it, funds become available, and then we will put out RFPs for the services and activities in the plan.
Thank you, sir.
There's a PowerPoint, I'm sorry.
As I said,
There's a
you gave us
PowerPoint that we have
great
available.
information. Yes, sir.
Stephanie Jennings, our consultant, is here, and
Well,
she can
that's
walk
what
you.
I was going to ask the commission. I don't know if you guys want more information. He gave us a lot. Would you like to see a PowerPoint, or do you guys? You're good? I'm good. Good? Okay, so commission, what's your pleasure on this?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Zonka. Second by Commissioner Tobias. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes 5-0. Thank you, sir. You did a lot of work for a few seconds there. All right, moving into item H2.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. H2 is an ordinance amending our code to create a new Article 9 that's going to govern publication of legal advertisements and public notices on a publicly accessible website. As the board is aware, effective the first of this year, Chapter 50 of Florida statutes was amended by HB 7049 to allow for the publication of many statutorily required public notices and legal ads on a publicly accessible website rather than in the newspaper. And as you know, the county is well on its way to implementing that. We do have a number of local requirements, however, either in our Code of Ordinances and resolutions and board policies and administrative orders that specify advertisement or notice in the newspaper. This ordinance would provide for those advertisements and notices to be placed on the publicly accessible website in lieu of publication in a newspaper when it's required just by a local rule. It wouldn't affect newspaper advertisements that are required by the charter, those newspaper advertisements that continue to be required by statute, by special act, sometimes by federal requirements and grant agreements, things like that. Only our local regulations specifying for newspaper advertisement.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Tobias, I'm thinking that's like to make a motion.
Yes, Madam Chair. Just wanted to give a little bit of history on this one. This had come up long before I was Commissioner Goodson, Representative Goodson, and I were in the legislature, and I don't recall. I certainly voted for it numerous times. I think co-sponsored a number of times, and Chairman Fine finally got this passed in 2022, and I want to thank the County Attorney's Office for dealing with this language. Just as a side note for savings, the software needed to implement this ordinance will cost roughly $24,000. This is a small amount in contrast to the more than $500,000 that various governments locally pay to advertise in the paper. The software also allows, and this is important here, constitutional offices, of which we budget for, and municipalities to utilize the new system. We cannot force other government agencies to publish on an accessible website instead of the newspaper. But according to Communication Director Don Walker, during fiscal year 21-22, the county in total spent $471,160.40 on advertising. To put this in perspective, the tax collector, Lisa Colon, has the opportunity to save taxpayers $115,000 should she go through with this. Clerk of the Courts, Rachel Sadoff, has the opportunity to save $65,485, again, for a $24,000 expense. I want to be very clear that I don't believe trying to deceive or hide anything from the citizens. And the thing I think that is most important is the advertisement of a notice of a tax increase. Board hasn't done that in quite some time, but statute requires that be advertised. There's some interpretation, and I don't want to leave it as variable. I would want to make it very specific. Right now, State Statute 200.065, Section 3 says the county must use a quarter-page advertisement. In fact, I think, for full disclosure, not only should we advertise at a quarter page in the newspaper, I think we should double or even quadruple that and make it accessible to voters. To give you an idea, a full-page ad is about $5,300 on Sunday. So this is a delta of about $3,500 a year, assuming we raised taxes, which again we have not. I just don't want anyone to believe to insinuate that we're trying to hide anything, especially things that could be conceived as damaging to the public. So I have a motion here, and I did not ask the county attorney to draft this because he informed me it would be between 30 minutes and an hour, but he did help with the motion here. So I'll read the motion and move to direct the county attorney to draft a board policy that requires staff to publish any notice of tax increase under Section 200.065 Florida statutes in a full-page advertisement in the newspaper rather than the minimum quarter-page advertisement required by statute. Additionally, if the board intends to consider exceeding the cap or ad valorem revenue growth set forward in Section 2.9.3.1 of the charter, the policy will require, again, a full-page advertisement in the newspaper, similar in the form of the statutory notice of tax increase at least 2 days, but not more than 5 days before the final budget hearing. That's the motion, Madam Chair. Again, the added cost there is incremental compared to the amount of savings that we will see out of this. So that's the motion, Madam Chair. I hope we all can support that, and I think this board is hopefully will not have to use that, but I think that for transparency of the voters, it's very important that we not only advertise in the paper, that we make it larger.
Commissioner Tobias, didn't we send out letters that one year we did it, though? We do send out a lot of information when we've had to. We sent out letters one year, didn't we?
About a tax increase?
Didn't we do that one year, send them all
Well,
out?
there's something called a trim notice, right?
Right, but I thought we sent
informs
something
voters,
out.
But the problem with the trim notice is it's very complicated, and as much as we tried to make it digestible, it's still a very, very complicated document when we take into account the charter, when we take into account homestead. It's not as clear and transparent as a quarter or a full-page
Okay,
ad saying there's a tax increase.
I'm with you on it. I just wanted to just kind of remind us that in the past when we did do it, that we are about transparency and we do direct information out. So I'm
Statute
good with
requires
this.
to send out a trim notice. Statute requires to put a quarter-page ad. This just increases it to a full page,
Okay.
Madam Chair, at a cost
Commissioner-
of $3,500.
Sure. Mr. Goodson?
Yes,
Commissioner Goodson?
this is, Madam Chair, this question is to Commissioner Tobias. Tobias, without your proposed change there, you said $24,000 worth of computer software to get the posting, correct? Something like that? Did you say 24?
Madam Chair? Yeah, according to staff, yes, I asked, and that's what the software setup would cost.
Correct. And then the savings that we would occur from the cities that we fund now, correct, through the budget for them to advertise their stuff on the paper or in the paper?
Madam Chair? Yeah.
Okay.
We're not funding the cities. The cities have the opportunity to use this, it is my understanding, but we do fund the constitutional offices largely, and they have the opportunity to use that. The $471,000 is what all of the cities and all of the county, as well as the constitutional officers, use in total on advertising that could be diminished because of this $24,000.
Okay. And then would we charge the cities to work off of our software?
Madam Chair, I'm going to punt that to staff. It was my understanding that we were providing that service. That
Free?
Let me ask staff on that one.
Ask the question again.
Would we charge back the cities to work off of our $24,000 of software?
We would, there's a couple of additional costs that would also occur, but they're rather minimal. There is a half-time staff that's dedicated to this. There's also a cost through the software company that are utilizing. There's a $20 per advertisement cost that they would get. However, those costs are very significantly lower than what the cities or the charter officers would be providing. It's very nominal compared to what they would have been paying the newspaper.
Okay. Now, that being said, would it be a year out before we'd see these cost savings by the time we bought the software, got it in place, got everybody familiar? So possibly next fiscal year, Representative?
Madam Chair, let me punt that one over to staff as far as, are we ready this is allowing this to happen. I don't know how far we are in the process.
We'll be starting with our own staff in March. I believe toward the end of April, it will be opened up to the cities and the charter offices, so they'll be, if they want to, they can get on board. We've spoken to some of them. Some of them plan to come on very early. Others, if they're not willing to stop the newspaper ads because of their concerns about making sure every T is crossed and I is dotted, they hopefully will come in within a year, and we will allow them to participate so that they can see how the system works with the website internally.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I want to address something that I think you touched on there earlier. With the increased participation of all of the municipal governments, the constitutional officers, the school board, that will help drive down the fixed cost of the software and also the half staff time for the person who's managing this. So as we get more buy-in from, the other users or future users, the cost will go down for everyone. Or it will be, I should say, will be spread across all those users.
I think it's a minimal cost compared to what we have to spend now for advertising. So it's.
Are we on this motion?
Go ahead, sir.
No. I'm just unclear if we're on the motion by Commissioner Tobias.
Yes, you made a motion, correct?
Yes, and my understanding is the board had discussed the efficacy of this, and I just added a disclaimer on here, or a motion to say if we were going to advertise a tax increase, we would do it in a clear way. I did not want anyone to say that we're advertising online to try to circumvent transparency. In fact, my motion does the exact opposite, makes it more transparent at a cost of, again, the delta between the quarter page and the full page is about $3,500, and that's not every year. I don't think this board has raised taxes in 3 or 4 years that met statutory guidelines. So that's all my motion does, is say we're going to make that advertisement instead of a quarter page, a full page.
Madam Chair, thank you. Commissioner, and as I understand it, because that's a statutory requirement, it's not going to be affected by our ordinance. I believe the Commissioner is making a motion on a separate board policy regarding advertisement of the notice of tax increase or an increase above the charter cap. That would be separate. I would need a separate motion to enact the ordinance that's in your packet.
And Madam Chair, to be very clear, this was giving the county attorney the authorization to draft it and bring it back to the board. I just did not want to waste I did not want to waste the county attorney's time if the board wasn't on the same. I will be voting for this either way. This just was germane since we were dealing with online versus newspaper advertisements. So I will be supporting this policy. I just didn't want to waste the county attorney's time under what the chair said previously about getting the consent of the board before we used any significant amount of staff time, specifically the county attorney's office. So,
Thank you, sir. You know, it's kind of interesting about that. Like 7 years ago, this was a different discussion, but now I don't think a lot of people even get the paper. So this is actually probably increasing the ability for the citizens to see it. Commissioner Feltner?
So just to be clear, your motion is only to direct the county attorney to draft this, bring it back to the board. We'll debate it then and vote on it, right?
Madam Chair, that is correct.
Okay, I'll second your motion then.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. All
Do
in
we have a motion to approve this item? Because, are we
I'm sorry,
doing
should
this
we-
first? Are you
Do
doing
you want
this
to
one
approve
first?
the item and then do the second part of it?
Whatever, you're the chair. Either way, Madam Chair.
Okay, well, I'm ready to approve the item and then
Okay.
let the county attorney come back and draft the new policy as well. So can I have a motion to approve the item?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by
Second.
Commissioner Feltner, second by Commissioner Zonka. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Now, Commissioner Tabaya, you want to make a motion to have the county attorney to do the second part of that of changing the way that we notify.
Yes, Madam Chair. The motion that I read, would you like me to repeat it? But again, this is just to give him authorization to draft it and bring it back to the
Yes.
board.
Do you guys have the paper?
I gave
So
him a
he wouldn't have
copy,
to. Okay, so I have a motion by Commissioner Tabaya,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Feltner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. All right, we're moving to item J1.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is seeking approval and authorizing the chair to execute a material removal agreement with the Florida Inland Navigation District for the removal of spoil material from DMMA BV2C, which is in MIMS, and to also authorize the county manager to make any future contract-related document changes with the review and approval by the county attorney, risk management, and purchasing services.
Thank you, sir. I think this is a good project. Commissioners, I have no lights. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to approve
Second.
by Commissioner Feltner, second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Moving into board reports. County manager,
No report.
county attorney.
No report, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thought I was going to forget, didn't you? I would have.
just
I
found out about a
certainly
change
would
that
have.
scratched through there. I'm sorry.
Okay, no worries. Okay, Commissioner Goodson,
No report.
Commissioner Tabaya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got three real quickly. First of all, I wanted to bring the board's attention, a unique opportunity. The federal government has created a charging and fueling infrastructure discretionary grant program. This provides about $2.5 billion of funding for electric vehicle charging stations and alternative fuel infrastructure. The program will provide funds over the next 5 years to include cities, counties, and local governments. I wanted to thank county staff, grant manager Anthony Hagan, and Central Services has already begun working on applying for this grant. I know that at least a couple folks up here drive vehicles that run on things other than fossil fuels. So I just wanted to thank staff for working on drawing that money down. One other thing here, and I'll leave the third one for later, but the school board is going through the redistricting process, and I wanted to put this out here and see where you guys stood. I've spoken with Chairman Matt Susan in regards to aligning the school districts with the county commission districts. We've already voted to have the county districts away. To be clear, it didn't go the way I had hoped, but I had individuals ask me the simple question: there's 5 county commissioners, there's 5 school boards, why am I in County Commission District 5 and School Board District 3? It costs somewhere in the neighborhood of for us to go through it, $17,000 in legal ads, quite a bit of staff time, and software cost. Now, this could ultimately be saved, portions of this could be ultimately saved by the school board. And I know that's a different taxing authority, but the resources they receive come out of the same pockets that we ask folks to turn over. So using, if the school board used the boundaries that we'd set up, there would be a cost savings and there would be more transparency. Chairman Susan had reached out to the supervisor election, who diligently mentioned the cost associated with realigning them, and more importantly, sending out the registration cards with the updated numbers. That's roughly $60,000. Now, to be clear, whether it came from the school board or whether it comes from us, it ultimately comes out of the back pockets of our taxpayers. So my goal was to help the school board come up with half of those costs. And I wanted to find out where the board was on this. When it came to ARPA funds, we divided those up. I'd seen about a $20,000 savings at our last meeting when I had authorized up to $60,000 to be sent for the Merritt Island study. We found a vendor that was willing to do it for $40,000. So that's a $20,000 savings. I would cut $10,000 off of the multi-million-dollar project for the Hoover field, allocate 30 of the $60,000. Again, this would come from the ARPA tranche that was allocated to District 3 to help fund this program for transparency should the school board go along with aligning their districts with ours. I wanted to find out where the board was on all of this stuff and to see if you guys were amenable to using the ARPA funds, again, that are not coming out of anyone else's pocket, but going in this direction.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would have a question for the SOE first, before we think about reallocating those funds. First of all, is he planning to do a mailing before the presidential preference primary? Because if that's going to happen, you could just as easily put a new voter card in there. And remember, he's only changing one digit in one box. That's it. So, you know, you're now in School Board District 3 versus 5 or whatever. So I think that's a question of Tim first.
Okay, Commissioner Goodson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Question, would, and I don't know if you've checked this, Commissioner Spy, but usually there's always the argument about, okay, you're moving my district and I don't live in that district now, and I had a 4-year term, now cut to 2, or either I have to move. Have you checked to see if school board members would stay in their relative position?
Madam Chair, This is only contingent on should the school board go in that direction. I have absolutely no say that they go in that direction, but if they do, this would be, and Commissioner Feltner brings up a very good idea. However, the $60,000 I got was when Chairman Susan asked the SOE, so that may be an additional savings on it. This would have been worst case scenario. But again, if they decide to go in a different direction, and I'm sure Chairman Susan is dealing with sunshine the way we do, so he couldn't call up everyone else on that. But so there's no guarantee that this happens, and if they don't and they go along with what you said, then this would be a moot point.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I think,
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
And I think some of the concern, at least in the past, when they wanted to do this, because I used to think it was kind of crazy that they had different lines than we did, was the number of schools per district and number of students. And I think initially that was the concern. But I think it's a great idea, and hopefully they'll support it and move forward with it, and hopefully it doesn't displace existing school board members. But I don't think too much of an adjustment would do that, probably. But yeah, I think it's a great idea.
Mr. Feltner?
I think the goal is just simply, if you live in a 100-level precinct, you're in School Board District 1 and you're in County Commission District 1. If you live in a 500-level precinct, that tells me immediately, right, you're in School Board District 5, County Commission District 5. I know that makes it a lot easier for the supervisor too, so I think they have some incentive. This is ultimately for the school board to decide, to your point. But I suspect that there's going to be a mailing from the supervisor, maybe even at the end of this year, prior to the presidential preference primary. And I just wonder if he could put the card in there, if that's something that they considered. I mean, they have a lot of mailing equipment there on John Rhodes. If it could handle all of that, maybe he could pay postage one time. That's all.
Commissioner Tobias, you want to go check that out and come back?
I would rather punt that one to Commissioner Feltner
Commissioner Feltner, you want to go check that out?
I'll do that.
I just don't, my goal is that I don't want
do
the
it.
school board to go in a different direction because a member of the school board says, well, this is going to cost $30,000. And more importantly, this isn't about, being in a 200 precinct, the way we look at this. More importantly, this is for the voter that is able to say, okay, I'm in School Board District 2. You automatically know my county commissioner is also District 2. So it gets extremely complicated when, again, we have 5 county commissioners, 5 school board members, and you're in a different school board district than what you are a county commission district. And the fact that we have a school board that may want to go in that same direction, we can't do that independently. We can't mandate them to do that. So if they're voluntarily doing this, again, I just don't want there to be a financial roadblock for voter transparency.
I agree with you 100%. I'll talk to Tim and see if maybe the number can't be a lot smaller.
Okay, Commissioner Feltner, that's yours to come back with us.
That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Feltner, oh, go ahead.
And I would just say that's good information to provide to school board member Susan if he's going to present it to his board, if that cost is half of that, because then that may mean that, are we going with half, or are we just going with 30?
Madam Chair. This is extremely important to me, the voter transparency. To be very clear, if they were able to get it down to $30,000, I certainly, if the board was okay, even though this would have been out of my tranche, I would be more than willing to pay the entire $30,000 to cover this.
Just so Mr. Susan has the information going to his board, I think the more information he has, at least the better
Yeah, it's a
argument
good,
he'll
very,
have.
very good point.
Commissioner Feltner, do you have a board report, sir?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Zonka? It's your last one, Commissioner Zonka.
I know. I think everybody's nervous about what I'm going to say. So I'll keep it brief. And I just want to take a moment and thank the commission and county staff for a great 6+ years. We solved a tremendous amount of issues, some big ones, and the equally important hundreds of other smaller ones. Some issues more intensely debated, argued, and some with drag-out debate, but always researched, thoughtful, and fought with equally as much passion. And I really can't express enough to express my gratitude to our manager, Mr. Abate, and the staff and the county. Too many to list because I had a list in my head and I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings if I missed anybody. Many who became easy friends over time and quickly. I'm very fortunate to be able to continue working with him, I guess just in a different capacity. So that at least is a plus in all of this. My Chief of Staff, Danielle Stern, is our D5 rock star. And the county and District 5 is better because of our hard work and commitment. And Jeanette Roig is our sunshine and gatekeeper, keeps us all laughing on a daily, and she keeps it running like a well-oiled machine. She manages the calm and angry, or put someone in their place when they need to be put in their place. And Charlene, within her first month of being with our office, picked up on things quicker than anybody that's ever worked in that office. And she proved that she can dive straight in and manage any constituent issue, good or bad. And I share this with you because, like county staff, they're the ones behind the scenes that often don't get recognized enough. But so for this and many reasons, I would encourage, I obviously can't tell the commission or even make a motion to do so, but I would encourage this commission to keep the D5 staff in place. Now, I haven't asked them, but I'm sure they'd be willing to stay in place just to make sure that things aren't missed and to make sure that there's a continuity. And I'm hoping the governor appoints someone quickly and someone good. But I think with Ms. Pritchett at the helm, I think you guys will all be okay. So it's been great, and thank you. And when I come asking for money, just say yes.
Well, it's going to be nice being able to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
And just run some thoughts by your head, so I'm looking forward to that. Is this on? It is. Okay, good. So you're really going to be missed a lot. And I'll get over my abandonment issues later, I think. So, Commissioner Tobias, new light, sir.
Thank you, and I should have asked this, but I'm glad you brought it up. When it comes to, I'm very comfortable. I think you have a wonderful staff. My office speaks extremely highly of everyone in your office. My question is this, and I would be, when there's a zoning meeting coming up, and I know there's at least one issue that's in D5. Would it be okay that Danielle provide us with, I've met with one of these folks, but I'd certainly like to hear the opinion of someone that knows that district better than I, could provide us with some interpretation of the D5 perspective. What's your thought on that?
I think it's a great idea. I really do. I appreciated when Fritz did it for D2, and I would say 80% of the time he was pretty much right, or at least well aligned with the board. Her and I are similar in ways I couldn't even begin to express when it comes to stuff like this, because we understand every important piece of what's going on with those requests, and we've met with the people in the office, and we've done our homework. So I think that would be great if the board's amicable to that.
I like that, too. As a matter of fact, if she wouldn't mind showing up to our briefings, I would appreciate that a lot, too. If she wouldn't mind, Fritz would do that as well. So that would help.
Yeah, you'd have to ask her.
Yeah.
She's in the back.
She's
She gives
in
a
there.
thumbs up, so.
Okay, wonderful. I do have, I just want to see if Jim's jacket has a board report. It's been sitting there staring at me all day.
It speaks on its
I'm
own.
sorry, sir, just like, yeah, okay. Sorry, but in all fairness, you did wear it. I have no board report either, but I'm going to read this into the record. The Board of County Commissions will now commence an attorney-client session discussing litigation and settlement negotiations in the case of Paul Bross versus Brevard County and Patrick Shirard, trustee versus Brevard County. The names of the people attending the attorney-client session are Rita Pritchett, Tom Goodson, John Tobias, Rob Feltner, Kristine Zonka, Frank Abate, Morris Richardson, Dale Scott, and Mark Maria. The session will be held in the county manager's conference room, and the estimated length of time is an hour or less. I will now entertain a motion to temporarily adjourn and reconvene in the county manager's conference room. Have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Tobias.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Goodson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. We will meet you guys upstairs in about 5 minutes.
And then we've got to come down again, right?
Yes, then we got to come back.
The opinions expressed by any member of the public during any period of public comment do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, or the program sponsor, and are solely those of the presenter. The Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, Space Coast Government Television, and the program sponsor hereby expressly disclaim any and all responsibility or liability for any defamatory or slanderous statements expressed by any member of the public during any such period.